Whoa, there we are. Hey, we just got on. Sorry about that. Didn't hit the on switch. Ooh. Anyway, welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo O. It is August 23rd, 2022. And sorry I got in a little late today, 10 o'clock. A little different from the 9 a.m. usual time. But I was visiting my mom. You guys know, a lot of you do know that she has cancer, so it's a real difficult time. But spent some good morning time with her, and what a blessing it is to be with her for sure. We all are praying for her a ton. But right now, we're going to get into the Word, and it's so good to just get into the Word, focus a little bit, kind of calm our lives down, and open up the Bible. What a concept, right? Just opening up the Bible. And that's something that's difficult for a lot of people. I know it was super difficult for me, who's never really was around the Bible growing up on a consistent level at all. But just opening up and reading away. And now we're in the book of Judges. The narrative is the guy named Samson. And this morning, we just kind of read through some of this chapter 14 and pull out some gems. It says in verse 5, so Samson went down to Timnah with his father and mother and came to the vineyards of Timnah. And now to his surprise, a young lion came roaring against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. And it says that he tore this lion up as someone would tear apart like a baby goat. And then he went down and he talked with this woman. Of course, this woman was a Philistine. And it says that, and she pleased Samson well. Sometime after, when he returned to get her, he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. And behold, a swarm of bees and honey were in the carcass of the lion. He took some in his hands as he went along eating. And when he came to his father and mother, he gave some to them, and they also ate, but he did not tell them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. Now, why is that in the narrative? Well, simply put, Samson, if you remember, was to be a Nazarite for life. He was to be a guy who is dedicated. Back in chapter 13, it says, behold, you're going to conceive and you're going to bear a son, but no razor shall come upon his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God from his womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hands of the Philistines. So you can see God's call on Samson was to be this special kind of person. This Nazarite was described in the book of Numbers, and it had to do with them, the way they kind of lived their life. It was a real unique way. They had longer hair. They didn't even cut their hair, actually, and they you would do these things like you wouldn't have wine, you wouldn't touch a dead thing, and so you really lived a separate life, a separated one kind of life, and it's kind of neat. But in the New Testament, the Bible tells us that we are separated for God. We, in a sense, live a separated life too, right? Because of the work of God in us, that we are different, right? And that kind of idea. Everybody tries to be different, especially growing up. There's always different fads that go around. The way people identify themselves, right? People get nose rings, people get tattoos, people grow their hair, they cut their hair, they shave their hair. The way they wear their clothes. Some people wear shell toe Adidas, some people wear this kind of pants, some people wear Levi's. Everybody's got a style. It's the way they identify themselves, right? They're kind of the way they go about their identification, the way they find themselves separate or different from other people in their world. And you do too. We all do this. It's hard to just get away around this. We're always comparing ourselves to other people, and we see things we like, and we want to look like that, or we want to feel attractive to ourselves, and all this self-identifying. That's what makes us very narcissistic, right? Some people say that's the path to peace and the path to in a sense, a well-being state of mind. But the Bible says actually having our identity in God is what really brings about peace. it's not so much what I think of myself, but it's how God views me, right? And that's kind of how I want to be different now, is how God is associated with me. That that that's what I want to be different from other things. So instead of being in my heavy metal culture or something like that, where I looked a certain way and that's what identified me as a person who plays guitar and into heavy metal and that kind of thing, now I start living a life different, and it makes people start going, "Oh, that's a Christian," you know. And that's kind of how we want to go about it, right? So now he was supposed to be like this. Samson was supposed to be like this, but he touched the carcass. You notice he put his hand into the carcass of the lion where this bee hive was, and so you could see him not being a Nazarite, not being that one who is separated, from others, different from others. And so he really, you see some compromise in his life now. And before we get too crazy and we go, oh man, that's right, Samson's a compromiser. Oh yeah, well how about you? You know, let's talk about how you compromise. Let's go through your life. Let's go through your day. Let's go through and see what areas of compromise are in your world. Where could you do the right thing, but you didn't do the right thing? Where could you serve, but you didn't serve? Where could you give up your life, give your money over to the poor so that you will have riches in heaven, and you didn't do that? Hey, but if you really want to, you pick it apart and you'll find that you too are a compromiser in many ways as well. That's rough, right? Because it goes up against all the pride that's in me, everything that makes me want to be righteous and be seen as righteous amongst human beings. It's really rough. So Samson dips his hand into the carcass of the lion, and we see that in his life, just like in our lives, there's these areas where we are compromising, where we aren't being perfect as our Heavenly Father is perfect. We are not being like Jesus. And so his father goes down to the woman, and Samson gave a feast there, for young men used to do so. So the father is going to give a feast, and there it says young men would go down there, and of course they would be hanging out with the women, right? And that's what it was about. So the father throws this party. Samson wants this woman. Seems to be kind of a culture thing. Let's throw a party. Let's get young people together, hang out, look at one another, that kind of thing. It's like a giant singles ministry, I guess. And it says, and it happened when they saw him that they brought 30 companions to be with him. Then Samson said to them, let me pose a riddle to you. So they're having a party. He's got his friends with him. He says, let me pose a riddle to you. If you can correctly solve and explain it to me within the 7 days of the feast, so a big party, this is not a small party, right? This is quite the party. Then I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothes. But if you cannot explain it to me, then you shall give me 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothing. And they said to him, pose your riddle that we may hear it. So he said to them, out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the straw came something sweet. For the 3 days they could not explain the riddle. But it came to pass on the 7th day that they said to Samson's wife, entice your husband that he may explain the riddle to us, or else we will burn you in your father's house with fire. Have you invited us in order to take what is ours? It is not so. Nice friends. Pretty intense. There's a passage in the New Testament that says bad company corrupts good character. Man, sometimes you're just hanging out with the wrong peeps, the wrong people. And it puts you in compromising positions. You're drinking, you're joking, you're saying things you shouldn't say, right? You're doing things you shouldn't be doing. You're getting too frisky. You're getting too relaxed, too careless. And that's what drinking does in so much in so many contexts. Um, drinking gets you to the place where you become relaxed with, you know, what you don't want to do. It makes you do things that you never would have thought you would do. And here you have this party, right? You have this riddle, you have this game being played. Well, someone gets so bent, so upset, so angry that they're going to literally burn this woman and her father's house if she doesn't tell them, explain this riddle, this game. Isn't that so much like it? When I was growing up, there was I remember so many backyard parties and, drinking, fights, right? Drinking, anger, people getting mad at each other, brawls happening, right? Burning with fire? Holy cow, man. That's hardcore. You're gonna burn someone's house down. You're gonna burn some woman and her father. But it leads to that. Being drunk leads us to all kinds of violence too, right? Think of how many people have been violated under the influence of alcohol. That's a tough one, right? Yeah. I mean, you look at the statistics on people being violated, and if they're drunk, and it's high. So when you drink, the statistics go way up that you will be violated, and that you potentially will be. And so something happens, to us, and what's interesting is, like, we need to be sober minded so that we're able to resist better. We're not going to resist everything. We're going to struggle, we're going to battle, we're going to fall, we're going to get back up. But we want to be able to be sober minded, the Bible says. Sober minded. Let's be sober minded. You hear that in the New Testament, right? Let's be alert. Let's be aware. Why? So that I can resist. So I can see that danger sign up ahead and go, I see it. I see it clearly. And now I can work on resisting, fighting all the urges. It's amazing how many urges we have to resist in a day. Isn't that amazing? Think about that. How many things that you want to do that you just shouldn't do, you're not able to do. It's not the right thing to do. It's not the right time to do it in. You have to resist. Think of how many times we have to resist using money, buying things, right? We have to resist. Yeah, I'd love to go buy a new car. Yeah, I'd love to know. Yeah, take that credit card out and just go for it. Just run her up, But we have to resist doing that because of the danger that it potentially leads to, right? Being in debt. The same thing. And this is so sad. So Samson's wife wept on him and said, "You only hate me. You do not love me. You have posed a riddle to the sons of my people, but you have not explained it to me." And he said to her, "Look, I have not explained it to my father or my mother, or should I, so should I explain it to you?" Now, another thing that happens when we drink and we get too weirded out with alcohol is we start manipulating too, right? We could start, oh, you know what I mean? Start manipulating. Come on, tell me. Come on. Again, that kind of coercion, gets in there, right? We just beg and beg and beg and manipulate. There's other things going on. We're not saying that. We're not saying, hey, I'm manipulating you because this is what I want to do, right? We're not being honest with our mouths. When you're at that party, when you're at that bar, when you're at that club, right? And you're talking to that person, you're not saying, hey, by the way, this is what I'm doing right now. You're not being that honest up front, right? You're manipulating the situation. You're saying, hey, this is, you're trying to be friendly, you're trying to be cute, you're trying to be all these things, but really in the back of your mind, there's a goal that you're wanting, and you're going to do whatever it takes to get to that goal. And that is the manipulation, right? Oh, don't you love me, Samson? I mean, my people want to know the riddle. We're at a party with all of them, all my bros, all my friends growing up, and now they think that, you're going to get over on them. You're going to get over on my people, and they're going to get upset. So come on, Samson. She's of course scared. What were her friends, or who she thought were her friends, aren't really her friends, right? But they're really out. They're really mean to her, right? But now she has to manipulate Samson. How's your relationships? How's my relationships? Are they filled with manipulation? Are they filled with this kind of backbiting, where 1 minute you're friends and the next minute you're not? 1 minute you're in love and the next minute you're not, right? What you thought was the greatest thing and the greatest person, now 6 months later, you guys are enemies and you're not friends on your social media platforms anymore. You see how shallow it all is? There's nothing of any substance in any of this, man. It's just super filled with intoxicating drink and just that kind of elementary, mindset. There's no sober-minded here. There's nothing long-lasting. There's no commitment. There's no love, right? There's no patience. There's no understanding, tolerance for one another. Nothing like that. It's so sad. Hey, Paula, good having you in this morning. Yeah, I'm late too, for sure. So you could see that, sometimes when we're, talking to someone who's, kind of living that party lifestyle, sometimes just having them read about Samson might give them some insight into, what they do. I know when I read Samson and his life, and when I read about the friends he had and kind of his environment, I totally, understand it. I get it, man. I've been there. I know what it's like, to have this kind of really shallow relationships. And so she had wept on him for 7 days while the feast lasted. And it happened on the seventh day that he told her, because she pressed him so much. Then she explained the riddle to the sons of her people. So he finally caves in. She just keeps pressing, keeps manipulating. How many different stories, narratives, people's narratives are just like this, right? Where they thought that was a friend. They thought it was someone that loved them, but they kept pressing and manipulating and manipulating and manipulating until you caved in. You said, okay, finally, I'll do this, right? Sure. There is no consent. There is no agreement. It's just manipulation, 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 and then you get what you want, right? How much of me is like this? How much of me is like this, where I manipulate till I get what I want? And, I would love to say there's nothing in me that's like this, but I know that there's everything that's that's in me that's like this. That all that thing that's in Samson and in this his wife is in me as well. I have all the potential to do the same thing. And so this is something I need to be aware of, that the heart of humans are deceitfully wicked, far above all things. My heart is a wicked heart. It needs to be changed. I need a spiritual uponness, a work of God to give me a strength that I just do not have. And this is what is going to happen in Samson's life. The Spirit of the Lord does fall on him at times, and he has a strength that is nowhere to be found, but it comes upon him. And so the men of the city said to him on the seventh day before the sun went down, "What is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion?" And he said to them, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." And then the Spirit of the Lord came upon him mightily, and he went down to Ashkelon and killed 30 of their men, took their apparel, and gave the changes of clothes to those who had explained the riddle. So his anger was aroused, and he went back up to his father's house. And Samson's wife was given to his companions, who had been his best man. Oh man, this is so sad. Whoa, man, can you believe just how crazy this thing's getting? Right? This is madness, absolute madness. So tomorrow we'll go more into the madness of life under the sun. Not S-O-N, but under the S-U-N. And really the party lifestyle, right? The 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 lifestyle of the culture to go and just live life, with your buddies, right? You see the fruit of all this. Pretty crazy, pretty um got a definitely a dead end, right? So we'll see more of this, but boy, what a way to look at our own hearts this morning and go, gosh, Lord, help me not to walk in this manipulation. Help me not coerce people to get what I want. Help me not be this way. Help me, Father, to be more walking in love. Love is patient, love is kind. Love does not seek its own. Oh, it does not seek its own, right? It rejoices in the truth, believes all things, hopes all things, right? Endures all things. Love never fails. Help me to be like that and not like this, right? Let me walk a different way, separated. So, man, cool Devo. It's good seeing you. Good being in the house with you. You guys take care. Have a great one. Thanks. I know I'm late, but thank you for your mercy. Bye-bye.